Hey, you guys. Today I just wanted to kind of go through a few things and take any questions from you guys. Or I have a few projects I'd like to work on as well. If you guys don't have any that you are having any, issues with. Billy, you're welcome, man. I really enjoy, helping people. Um, I actually kind of do that as my professional career. I consider myself, someone who actually I, I um, I manage a group of mechanics who repair equipment at a large national chain store distribution center. So I really my job is to help people throughout the day there too. Anyway, so rolling back into what I plan on covering today, and that is I want to thank everybody for helping me reach 4,000 subscribers. Uh, I haven't put out as many videos as I'd like to last year, so I'm going to try and get back into that. Possibly make this live stream on Friday afternoons a constant thing here if I can manage to schedule it in every Friday. So today I'm just kind of rolling into it. I've got a few things that I like to cover, but um, we're gonna wing it today and see how well I can manage the software for the live stream. So one interesting thing that ended up happening recently is in the past couple of days we hit 4,000 subscribers, which is an amazing milestone for me. I didn't think it was really going to make it to that this quickly. As soon as I made the channel, I really started making YouTube videos for a small group of makers that I'm friends with on through Instagram that are also fellow military personnel, and I was showing them how to do the 3D carving within Fusion 360, and somebody asked me for more detailed instructions, so I made the video and just sent it to that group, and they suggested I publish it. So I went ahead and published it. Made the video public, and it kind of took off from there. Yeah, so I ended up joining a Facebook group. I'm not sure where many of you know me from, but I'm in quite a few Facebook groups where I, help answer questions that people have through my own experiences, which a lot of them are actually gained by people asking odd and off the, outside the box projects that I would have never thought of doing myself until I see other people doing them, and they ask the questions and I look at, well, how would I do that? I'll usually just open the software up and try and figure it out. And that's really kind of how it began, was trying to figure out how to do these things that other people didn't know how to do. And by struggling my own way through it, I kind of figured it out. And then adding to that knowledge different projects that people ask how to do and whatnot. And that's kind of where I kind of gained my information from that I like to share with you guys. So one of the Facebook groups that I joined last year and ended up becoming a admin of went ahead and sent me this package in the mail, which I wasn't expecting, a DHL delivery from China. And I opened the package, and it's this amazing award, which I'm grateful for, but I definitely wasn't expecting at all. And to the guys over at Fox Alien, thank you for sending me this, Nate. I appreciate it. This thing is hefty too. A neat thing that I saw with this too when it came in is that they've engraved a chunk of glass here that says "Outstanding Group Expert" and my name, 2022 award for the Fox Alien Group. It's a pretty neat little award here, right? And when I open it up, also the base is made out of what appears to be solid walnut, so that's pretty nice, right? When I open it up, I also noticed that if you haven't seen my other video about the hot wire cutter, there's a hot wire foam cutter machine that Fox Alien makes, and it looks like, I'm not sure if they used that for this, but they definitely could have used that to make this box. The way these foam inserts are all cut out. So that's just an interesting little thing that I saw when I opened it up. If they're not teamed up with this trophy company in their packaging, they they definitely could do that on that machine. It's a rather small machine with a 40 centimeter by 40 centimeter cube work area, but it's big enough to do the foam in this box for sure. So I wanted to say thank you to those guys for sending out that award to myself, and a few other people in the group received them as well. And again, my goal wasn't to join this group to get an award. It was just, I enjoy helping people, and that was one of the groups that's full of pretty full of a lot of new users, and plenty of people to help out with their projects. So, in case you can't see this behind me, this is my shop. I don't really show it too much in the videos from a farther out view. Usually, it's closer up because, as you can see, it's a massive constant projects, right? There's some serving trays that are lined up on the floor here because there's no more shelf. There's no more horizontal space to lay them out anywhere. This is the large workpiece CNC right here. Over this corner, there's a silverback CNC from Your Home, which I'm editing a review video for, but I still haven't finished editing that, so stay tuned. That's going to come out in hopefully in the next week or two if I can finish that one up. And then right next to it is a Fox Alien Master Tour Pro. They're the smaller orange one, and that's a pretty neat machine as well. I'm working with a friend of mine, Daniel from Guns and Guitars, on a project with that to convert it from a NEMA 17 stepper motor machine over to a NEMA 23. So behind that in the corner are two 3D printers that were 3D printing off parts for that as well. So that covers all of the bullet points that I really wanted to go over first thing and foremost. And then from there, we can get into a few projects if you guys want to do that. If you have anything that you guys want me to cover, go ahead and let me know in the comments. And you can send me either the project as an attachment to my cncseth@gmail.com email address, or if it's the easel project, you can just drop the share link in there after you've set it to unlisted. Okay. Let's see if that let me drop that link in there to the email address. And if I see you guys pop up with any other projects to work on or questions, I'll go ahead and answer those. But I'm going to jump into screen sharing and work on kind of walk you guys through a different project that I have right now. Yeah, so it's pretty cold out here in my shop. I had a t-shirt on, but it's been getting colder and colder out here. I had to run inside and grab this jacket. Billy, so it says you're currently using a 3018 with easel and you want to upsize. So if the goal is to just go larger in size, those the Fox Alien machines are basically just a larger footprint than the 3018. They have the 4040 Master Tour and Master Tour Pro, which include the same spindle type as your 3018. Let's see if I can pull up some photos of that as well. Actually, here, yeah, there we go. And those will they'll definitely give you the larger footprint, but it's not going to give you too much more power. Now, the cool thing about the Master Tour Pro is it has the mount for a router as well. So let me see if I can pull up that picture real quick of that machine. Now again, I do. I'm not an employee of Fox-Selling, but I do work with them pretty closely on a few things, right? But they did send me the MasterTour Pro for free to review, so I'm going to kind of go over a few other systems as well. But I've had hands-on experience with this one, and I like it. It's definitely like the next step from a 3018. But I do think there are some other options out there as well that you should look into, right? So on this one here, let's see if I can zoom in. Oh, it's not gonna. There we go. This spindle mount it comes with is for the same spindle that's in the 3018 from default. That same 60 watt 775 motor spindle, right? And it includes that, and then you can also upgrade to a 300 watt spindle that fits right in here where this black sleeve is. And another option too is it comes with another clamp where you can mount a 65 millimeter router, so like a Makita router in there. I think it shows it on one of these photos. Maybe not. Oh yeah, this one. Yeah, so you can. It includes that clamp with this kit, and then of course this is a belt-driven system as opposed to the lead screw of your 3018. So it doesn't have quite the same amount of torque, but as a lead screw driven system, but it does have a faster speed, which is great for running a laser. Yeah, so with that, the faster speed is more, configured for a laser option as well. That's kind of the benefit of having a belt system, is that you can actually drive it a lot faster, especially when you're using a more high-powered laser. Now, the 3018 can still run a laser, but since you can't run it as fast as a laser could run, sometimes you have to run the laser at a lower speed to account for that, right? So some other options along similar lines to that. I mean, that's looking at the price tag here, right? That's $629. You can get a used X-Carve for double that, and it has larger stepper motors, and it has a larger work area. So I mean, that's probably the other option that I would go with besides this as your next step up from that. Now, Fox-Selling does also sell actually on similar lines, your 3018. SethCNC is the brand that usually sells the 3018s, most of them, right? So they have a few new lines as well, the Prover XL, as well as a 4040, which is quite similar to the MasterTour. It's kind of like a larger version of the 3018, right? Hey, Craig. Oh, by the way, I'm in California, so you're pretty far away there in UK. Let me pull up that SethSmart one and kind of show you the SethSmart line for that as well, right? And we can go over those real quick too. Oops, if I can find it real quick. What are you guys up to? What's going on this weekend, guys? I'll be out here. I usually don't take orders too much anymore, but because I kind of shut down my Etsy shop, but my Shopify store is still open, and even though I don't advertise it, I occasionally get sales that come through, and I have to fill those orders if I haven't bothered to close that store yet. So I got a couple orders for Marine Corps rank displays I have to carve up. Ooh, did that? So let's see here. The 6550 or 6050, I mean, if I can get into it. Working this weekend, that's no fun. So actually, I got a fun job where I don't have to work the rest of the day today, so that's kind of neat. That's awesome. Yeah, have fun with that, Billy and Jay. Jay, where do I know you from? Jay. All right, so the 6050, I mean, obviously the price tag goes up a bit for that one, but this is really underneath here. It's still running on linear rails, but instead of moving the bed around like the 3018, we're moving the gantry around, right? So if I can find the picture, oh, I think that was it right there. That shows the underneath there. So we still got linear rails on the bottom, or linear rods, sorry, on the bottom there. Here we go, open this up. There we can zoom in the right way. All right. So we've got linear rods down here on the bottom that it's sitting on, right? And so, I mean, it's really very similarly designed to the 3018. I don't really love the linear rod, you know, design when they could go at least rails with it, linear rails, if you're going to bother staying linear and not go to the other design option, which is V wheels. And then another option you could look at too is the work bee and the lead CNC from Open Builds. Those are those are the basis that the Prover XL and the Silverback are kind of designed off of, right? So if we go in here and look at the Prover XL, if I can find it, it's loosely based off of the Open Builds work bee machine, right? I have seen the Queen Ant. The Queen isn't the Queen Ant in from is it Robo? I forget the name of the company. But I want to say that they are, yeah. So they don't deliver to the U.S. So I think that's why I don't really look at that one too much. But yeah, if we look at the design here of the Prover XL, it's got the C beam here and yeah, the table moving is, well, one that's a fun question that comes up with almost every new 3018 owner is why is it covering my stuff mirrored? Because the bed moves, so you got to kind of think about it in reverse. But also, like you mentioned there, the stability of the moving bed as well is kind of difficult, right? When it's sitting on those floating rods. But I have a 3018 too. That's kind of what I started with. It was a budget CNC. I wasn't worried about throwing the money away on it. So that's where I got into this as well, right? We'll open that over here real fast. And you can see the footprint of the Prover XL, right? It uses these C-beam channels and which is, it's kind of hard to tell from this angle, but the way the C-beam works, the back side is open and it's just this front C shape, right? And these ones here use V wheels, which these are actually like a double stacked V wheel. The issue that I don't love about this design with the double stacked ones is they're not adjustable. So once they wear down, you have to replace them. Whereas on the work bee that I have, they have eccentric nuts, very similar to the X-Carve and this Shapeoko and the long mill. And those you can adjust the eccentric nut to pull the bottom V wheel up into the rail as any of them wear, right? So if we jump over here and look at the work bee, Oops. Let's try that one more time. Over here on the work bee, it's a very similar design with the C-beam. Now, the thing that the work bee did differently is the original design, right? It's got the C-beam rotated to kind of cover up the lead screw naturally on the Y rails. But if we look at the Prover, they designed it with it rotated the wrong way so that the lead screw is kind of exposed to sawdust. So then they had to build these little channels here to help protect that. And that's kind of one of the negatives that I don't like about the Prover XL is the way that these beams are rotated. Now, a neat thing that I'm looking into what it would take to give it away once I finish building it, but somebody sent me their old frame from the Prover XL, and I've been slowly kind of machining parts to rebuild it to possibly give it away to somebody on one of these videos. But that's still in the future right now. But yeah, somebody upgraded from the 4030 here to the 6060, and they just had a frame that's just sitting there that they have no use for, right? So in my process, I did go ahead and machine these parts differently and rotate the C-beam towards the other direction, right? So that it's away from any chips flying towards it. So here's the work bee design. It uses individual V-wheels. So again, they're, like I said, adjustable and easier to change out as well. And of course, we've got even more wheels, especially on the larger version here. Yeah, the Fox Alien Master Tour Pro, Craig, you're right. It does have those eccentric nuts as well. The only, I mean, they did make a measurement mistake on that design, though. If you look at the eccentric nuts, and the reason why a lot of people who receive theirs have kind of flat spots on the wheel, the Master Tour Pro has eccentric nuts, but the hole spacing, it should have been a little bit further apart. And at the hole spacing it is, you can't loosen them up as loose as they really should have been for shipping, and then the end user could have been able to tighten them. Unfortunately, at their loosest position, they're still tight. So, I mean, that's a change that hopefully they make in the future. Is just change the hole location there on that Master Tour Pro. But yeah, they do have those. Yeah, I'm reading your comments real fast. Sorry about that. Yeah, so the Queen Ant is really similar to the, here, let me look at this other one. Is really similar to the Queen Bee, but Open Builds also has an Ultimate Bee, right? Which uses, now we're kind of getting off topic from an upgrade from the 3018, but it's all good stuff, right? The Ultimate Bee over here, it uses ball screws and linear rails all the way around. So that, if I was, I mean, I bought the Work Bee when it was the original one. Here you can kind of see the progression here. The Work Bee became the Queen Bee with just the linear rails, and then when they bumped it to ball screws, that's where the Ultimate Bee was born as well, right? And they also made the Z a bit taller here. You can kind of see that too. But so if I was to buy again today, of course, I'd buy the Ultimate Bee and get the ball screws and linear rails for it instead of V wheels and lead screws. In fact, my Work Bee was one of the very first that was the 4-foot by 4-foot option, and they hadn't figured out how to make the lead screws not whip around at high speed. So you had the option of buying the 4-foot by 4-foot with lead screws and run at a very slow speed, or the option that I went with actually is my Work Bee back there is actually belt driven. Now it's a thicker GT3 that's still 6mm, so it's a thicker belt than the ones that are on the Master Tour Pro, but it is still the same width as those. So I mean, it's still a great machine the way it is, and very fast. If I want to run thin passes, and this is my garage, right? You can see I've kind of put some sound deadening stuff in my garage door behind me back there. That black stuff is a moving blanket that helps sound deaden it. But when I run it at night, sometimes I'm forced to run thinner passes, and I'll just kick up that feed rate really fast. And since it's belt driven, it's not a big deal for it, right? And that thinner passes kind of produces less cutting noise, so it's not so bad outside. So when I do super deep passes, it kind of makes it louder. So I won't run those until like 2, 3, 4 at night. But when I am running late, I would run those thin passes, Yeah, so I actually haven't changed out the V wells on mine yet. I kind of warmed them up in some hot water to kind of get the flats to go away. Because the replacement wheels I have are clear, and I didn't want to change them out from the black ones just yet. But once you get one larger machine like this, I mean, within like 2 months, I decided, all right, let's buy spares of everything, right? So I had spare belts lying around, spare V wheels for it, and spare steppers, right? And actually, there's a whole new controller board that's in a box over there that's a spare for the entire controller, except for the power supply. There's some people that like the bobs. The problem, Billy, about the bobs that I don't love is the way that he's configured X and Y axis is one of the things. And I'm also not a huge fan of a combustible framed CNC to begin with. And the walls on that one, even though it's kind of built similarly to a torsion box style, tabletop, the way that it's built and structured in there. So it's some of them are some of the designs are kind of strong, but it's a thin plywood framed machine, right? So there's some issues with alignment. It does use wheels on a rod still. Now that is a very, very thin steel rod that it's just kind of sitting on, and it's relying on the strength of that wood to hold it in place. So again, you're going to be doing very thin cuts on that, which is why originally they started with almost like a Dremel tool on it, and they've since changed over to some routers and made a few different modifications to it to make it a little bit beefier. But so one of the problems with that machine is that the X and Y are switched, right? So over here on this picture, let's go. I want to open up Fusion 360 to show you some 3D models, but I'm a little concerned that the processing power that it takes might slow down the live stream. So we'll try it without that. Yeah, you like how I refer to it as combustible framed. So I mean, I say that in all as really as fair as I think it can be. Like I mentioned, I kind of got into CNC after that, and making videos after that Facebook group, and one of the members of it, one of the earlier adopters to CNC from that, it was a group of woodworkers, bought a Bob's, and sure enough, within about 4 months, he shared some photos and videos with us of the one time that he left his shop to go to the bathroom, and there was a fire. The collet got stuck, or the workpiece moved, and his machine pretty much went up in flames, and it was not really usable. I mean, you probably could have got parts to repair it, but it would have been at almost the same price as the new machine. So how we have X and Y here, the Bob's rotates that. So if we look at a more, so this right here is, so the Bob's is based on kind of an industrial CNC, which does use a rotated X and Y. Now, on a larger industrial CNC, you don't really have to worry about tiling, but a lot of times on the Bob's machines, people will try and tile, and that doesn't really mesh well with actually, this is wrong. So this is more industrial CNC, but the Bob's has this over on that corner with the positive X going this way and the Y going side to side. So if you try to tile using Easel's tile feature, it doesn't work with the Bob's. And the problem with that is, I mean, the bigger problem that I have with that is that it's not hard to change it. if you adjust the you have to reflash the Gerbil program onto the controller. So that's not hard to do, but he doesn't tell anybody that or how to do it. They keep it a secret of how to change it. And I don't think that part is right. So if people want to modify your product to make it better and you know exactly how to change it, why not just let them do what they want to do, you know? Yeah, I need to have a way to like show these comments up on the screen next time, right? Yeah, Kevin, like I was saying earlier, I don't know if you caught that, but it's you're welcome for helping, but it's really my pleasure, man. I get so much, um, joy, out of helping other people succeed, you know? Um, so yeah, it's my pleasure to offer the help that I do in those groups, you know? It has it has become I have taken on a little bit more than I can chew at times in those groups, but we'll jump into actually we might have to go with Fusion 360 with the project that I was looking at doing. All right. Here we'll go through some more questions real fast. Roy, newbie to CNC, got a 3018 about 3 weeks, slowly got to grips. It'd be nice if there was a video showing how to design something simple from CAD to CAM to G-code. With free software, that's the troubling part right there, right? So most of the free software out there is not really the best, but the best place that I suggest that new users start really is Easel by far, right? So you can't really get any easier than the way that Easel has it set up. And yes, they do have a paid subscription model, but they do also offer the basic stuff. Although it's hard to say that VBits aren't basic, right? Yeah. So tiling in Fusion gets a little tricky because you kind of set up the toolpath for yourself, and sometimes add dividing lines to your design in order to do it that way. But there's I think there's some older Popos Workshop videos that show how to manually tile before Easel released their built-in tiling method, and you kind of got to you basically just replicate that over in Fusion, and that's how you do it. And it's really by taking your design. Here, we'll throw something out here, right? Taking your design and then kind of splitting it by throwing a dividing line through it, right? And then using that line to kind of cut your design in half. Now, the way that Easel does tiling by default, it actually uses some overlaps where by default in here, so we can turn on tiling. Oh, we can't until I make it bigger. There we go. And it uses these overlaps, right? So it has about an inch, I'm going to say an inch, might be half an inch overlap on each of the tiles as it creates them. Yeah, 20, 25, and 26, right? So we end up with a 1 inch overlap in the middle there. And so you kind of have to replicate that. You can replicate that overlap within Fusion 360, right? By adding a line to your design and kind of cutting through it. I can't really show that here because Easel doesn't support like lines being able to cut through stuff. But over in Fusion 360, you can do that, and then you can use the move tool in Fusion 360 and move your line up or down 1 inch, and that'll be your overlap point, basically, right? And you'd have to basically use that line to cut your design in half. I can see if I can open Fusion 360, but I'm not sure how well that's going to work with the live stream going from the same computer. But at least I'm not carving from it this time. I tried that before to carve from the same computer as the live stream, and that did not end well. Too much RAM being used. I have since upgraded the RAM on this computer, but we'll give that a shot on some other day. Yeah. Billy, there's a lot, there's a lot of people that do offer their help, and they they're they do. So the thing is, I end up in just about like every group because I kind of join them all on it because a lot of the problems are really replicating on every CNC, no matter what you get. So it's kind of fun when people go ahead and join these groups and then they see people complaining and they want to, tuck tail and run away from that brand. But the thing is, when you go and look at another brand, it's the exact same problems. And usually, if you think about how much each brand might, their brand power within the market, how many systems they're selling, and how many people post about these problems, about the common problems that they have, it's the same percentage of new owners that run into the same problems on just about every CNC. Carveco is cheap, inexpensive. Carveco at $15 a month is pretty. Yeah, it's cheaper than Easel. Carveco doesn't have that lowest tier of Maker doesn't have tiling built in. There's a lot of features that are not necessarily built into it, but it can. Well, now Easel can too, but before that, Carveco could do 3D carving and but it can't do tiling natively. Like you still have to do this line trick and cut your stuff up and tile it manually, sort of thing in there. Let's delete this out. Actually, I didn't mean to hit that button again. Oh, look, I have a lovely Google Chrome update. So hopefully I don't have any problems with this today. We'll undo this back to where it was. What is your retirement present you're working on, Roy? Or that was a retirement present to you, the 3018? That's pretty fun. Yeah, so I actually worked for a company that made like remote control submarines for private and military, and that's when I bought my 3018 CNC because we were actually outsourcing a lot of our parts to CNC shops, and I kind of wanted to teach myself how to do it and potentially make parts for them to be able to kind of undercut these other CNC shops that we used. That, of course, didn't happen with the 3018, and most of the parts that they were making were acetal and aluminum, which I've never really gotten into milling too much aluminum, besides a few small keychains and stuff. Yeah, so Joe, I mean, it's really about. Let me tell you a trick, right? Since you're already here, a trick about what I do when tiling. What I would do. I'm sorry, I've never actually tiled, but people have taken this advice and it works out very well because I've seen other people have problems with this particular issue, and that is when you go to do the tile, you've got your X and Y zero down here, right? And it tells you to, especially in Easel, right? Easel automates it a bit for you, but you'll have to do the same thing using Fusion 360. I would put a sacrificial board along your y-axis right here, like a piece of MDF, and clamp it down or screw it down so it's solid in place and not moving, and then use the CNC itself to mill a flat edge on this face, right, where the workpiece is going to butt up against. So then you've got a flat edge that's perfectly parallel to your y-axis, and you can then butt your workpiece up against it, right? And then you come down here, and when you set X and Y zeros, you can jog your bit over a little bit and apply a piece of blue tape or mark it with a pencil exactly where your 0, 0 spot is, right? So then you do your first carve, and you need to slide it down 20 inches to that 20-inch point of your workpiece becomes 0. So how do you identify 20 inches? You could measure with a tape measure, but what if your tape measure is not the same exact calibration as your CNC, right? Your CNC is not calibrated to that exact tape measure. So instead of doing that, I would jog the CNC down 20 inches, and now where that bit's at is the 20-inch point. Mark the workpiece right there at that 20-inch point, apply a piece of blue tape or mark it with a pencil, something you can erase, and you've got your distance perfect. And then you slide that marked point down to the 0 point of your of that side board you've got there. And hey, James, and that is and that's going to give you the perfect alignment for sliding your workpiece down. And that's really what I would do in there for tiling to make sure the alignment is right, because that's really what most people manage to mess up on, right? Now the other thing is, depending on what you're carving with the tiling, if you're able to you can set the different tiling amounts in here, right? The different lengths. So even if you turn on tiling and it wants to do just 2 tiles, you could make it do 3, 4, or 5. And if it's up to me and I've got like a, let's say like a welcome sign for somebody's front door, right? This vertical sign where I've got to tile all these different letters. And if it's going to break apart my letter and cut right through the middle of one, I could change that tile distance. So instead of like it cutting through the O and the last O, OME, right, of welcome, it's not going to do that. I could change the tiling so it cuts below the O and before the M. Even if it means I've got to slide it one extra time, at least that part of the carve is not in 2 separate tiles, you know? Because that is one good way to end up with alignment issues that are visible. Whereas if your alignment and sliding was slightly off, and you split the letters so that it's in a gap in between them where that tile, where that dividing piece of the tile was, then nobody's really going to notice that it was 1/8 of an inch off. But if you're 1/8 of an inch off in the middle of a letter, especially a letter that's not perfectly, vertical as well, like the letter, like a V or something like that that has an angle to it, and your tile is off, it's going to cause it. They're not going to align right, Hey, what are you doing up, James? Isn't it like what time is it there? 8 o'clock at night? Oh, I guess there's 2 of you here from the UK, right? James and Craig. Yeah. Exactly. Use the CNC itself to mark the points. 9 o'clock, that's what, 21:30, that's, yeah, 9:30. My timing wasn't too off, my guess there. Yeah, so exactly, Craig, using the CNC itself to, at least to do the measurement, maybe not to actually mark the board with the bit, but to at least give you the alignment point, right? Oh, that's neat to replicate the house they're living in for a dollhouse. It seems like a bit of work to do, and all the furniture too. Yeah, that's a lot of work. You'll have fun doing that while you're retired, right? Finland. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I actually kind of work you guys' hours. So, and I am coming up home and taking my kids to school in the morning, and then here I am now, right? Well, they're all at school. But anyway, if you guys want to go through some designs, something else besides just sitting here chatting, we can do that too. James, if you didn't mention, you have to present yours as well now too, right? Um, so yeah, I mean, yeah, let's go ahead and see if we can pull up Fusion 360 without crashing this computer. All right. Oh, I didn't realize that half of that stuff I was trying to show you was actually covered up by my photo too. I'm sorry about that, guys. Hopefully you understood what I was saying. Oh, inlays. That's the other thing. So Craig, um, we were talking a little bit about, I use easel a lot because it's easy to use and it's easy for other people to grasp, right? Brand new users to really grasp onto. But the one thing that it lacks in, right, or one of the things that it lacks in is being able to do V-bit inlays. We'll do it there so I know that you can see what I can see. Oh, there we go. That might work better. So Carveco can do V-bit inlays a lot more easily. Now it does still take a few tricks to get it to work right in Carveco, but over in the Carveco group, we've got a handful of people that are really knowledgeable about that. Let's change that over like that. And we'll see if Fusion 360 loads up. Still taking a minute to think about it. Luckily, I have an educator's license too in Fusion 360 still, so there's a few extra features that I have in there that I'll have to make sure that if I show you guys anything, that they're part of the free version too. Sitting down with a drink. You drinking beer? Man, I haven't had a beer in like 5 years probably. Not that there's anything wrong with that or that I had a problem to need to stop, but I just haven't had to drive to do that, I managed to put on quite a few pounds during COVID, and now it's been hitting the gym trying to take care of that. Anyway, so beer wouldn't be helping me with that endeavor, So here we can jump in Fusion 360 and we can kind of talk about tiling real fast. Let's close that music out actually. All right. Oh, we can design from scratch, I guess. But have you used Fusion before at all? I mean, I can kind of show you what's going on there. One of the first things that hey, Timber, that I suggest doing is over in the CAM software, we need to set up a machine. And you don't necessarily have to do it, but it does save one critical step. If you don't do it, you have to kind of modify your G code afterwards, depending on what sender you're using, because it'll have a tool change built in. So I like to set up a custom machine in there, right? So you've never used Fusion 360, so we can come in here and we can create a sketch is the first thing really. So it's kind of laid out that you use these modules here top to bottom, and typically you work kind of left to right along the top here. I kind of suggest that you check out Lars Christensen on YouTube. He's great videos, although he hasn't produced any in about a year and a half. He is on the Fusion 360 team over at Autodesk and was for years. I guess at some point he transferred to a different department and stopped making the videos, but then he transferred back, made them for a couple months, and then stopped making them again. So I don't really know. Maybe it's something to do with their business there that they don't want him doing it on his own account and stuff like that. But he's got some great videos that are still, even though they're a couple of years old, very applicable, right? So we come over here and we can create a sketch using the little button, or you can go to create a new sketch. Again, there's all these other options down here, but we're kind of working from the top left, working our way down and to the right, So you basically create a sketch, choose which plane you want it to be on, and this plane selection correlates to this square as well. Since in CNC we usually carve from the top down, I'm going to select that bottom plane, which it rotated our box here, and now we're looking at our board basically from the top down. And then, so I'm gonna kind of scan through this real quick. I'm not actually gonna design something with you because I'm a little tight on time. But we can, I'll go through a few things here, right? So you get in this sketch area and you can decide what your document settings are going to be in, whether they're metric or imperial right here. A lot of this stuff you can either double click on, or there's a little pop out that there's a lot of intuitive things here where the options will pop up with explanations of what they are, right? And you select what unit you want to use here. Let's say, yeah, let's work in millimeters. And I'm going to throw a rectangle in just for fun. And when we do that, oops, rectangle, it pops up there with the dimensions. We can type something in. Right? So we have a 200 by 50 millimeter rectangle already. Let's say I know what the dimension is in imperial, though, right? You can easily do your math in here, right? So we know imperial is a 25.4 multiplier. So we do 25.4 times 2, and that's 2 inches, aka 50.08 millimeters. So you can do a multiplier directly inside there, which is kind of neat that you can do that within that tool, right? So once you do, you can go ahead and sketch stuff out here. I'm going to finish this sketch and we'll move on to the next step. For the most part, a lot of CNC work, if you're making signs and whatnot, you can just make it a sketch, a two-dimensional sketch, and then carve using the perimeter. I can just drop this into the manufacturing tool and create a tool path around the outside to cut this rectangle out, right? Or you can make it an actual 3D model by selecting the face now and extruding it. And you can grab it and move it up, or you can type in the dimensions, right? So this is 18 millimeter thick wood that we're going to cut here, right? You can give it that dimension. You don't have to, again, unless you're designing something that really needs to be 3D. All right, take care, James. Thanks for checking in. I appreciate it. And yeah, let's go over here and grab one of my previous designs, and we'll pull that in real fast. Ooh, maybe we can't. Let's see here. So there's some designs in here that are actually work related. So I'm going to pull it over to a different window real quick and pull this in. All right, it's coming up now. So I used kind of a waveform design to make this table that I still haven't carved yet, but it's for an end table. And I haven't quite decided whether or not I want to do it as a rectangular top or carve this into a circle shape, right? And put a piece of glass on top of it. But when you see it, it's pretty neat. But using some of the lofting tools that are within the 3D module in here, which are a little bit more advanced techniques of the tools that are in there. But the Fusion 360 group is really great as well. There's a guy in there who calls himself Swami, who helps a ton of people. I would say that he is the Fusion 360 version of what I try to do to easel users, right? Oh, and again, using your mouse here, I'm using the scroll wheel of the mouse and rolling the wheel in and out, and you can just easily zoom. And then using the control button and mouse clicking with the center of the mouse. So I'm pressing shift, and then clicking the mouse wheel and then dragging it around, and you can rotate the model very easily. Now, if you don't know these hotkeys, the other way to do that is called orbit. You'd have to go in here and click that in order to do it. And in order to zoom in and out, you have to use the magnifying glass here to zoom in and out. So that can get annoying doing all these extra clicks, right? So using the mouse to do this sort of stuff makes it go a lot faster. And it is extremely similar to the way that you can move the 3D preview around over an easel too, right? So this is a ripple effect table. So of course this had to be done with more three-dimensionally, right? So in order to carve this, it's going to be very similar to, it's almost identical to carving the STL over an easel, if you haven't seen that. So I've also got a video showing how to actually have to carve STLs in Fusion 360, and that's basically the same approach that I'm going to use to carve this, right? And it's basically just a sine wave that was sliced through this, using that as a center point and working its way out, and then rotate it around that center point. And then once I carve it, since I made it a sine wave, all the top of these are the same height, and I can put a piece of glass right on top of it, maybe a few little rubber feet on some of these high points near the edges to make sure the glass doesn't move around. But the idea here is when I cut it, I made sure there was no, super high points at the corners so that they don't try and break off during the carve. Anyway, we can go to a different design too real fast. So I've got another video that actually walks you through how to make a very basic sign in Fusion 360 and also do the toolpaths. Now on that one I did, to make it look and make a little bit more sense, once you have the sketch made, you can extrude that sketch to different thicknesses, right? So I went ahead and extruded it in that video before making the toolpaths. That does kind of help with that situation. I think in that video, it does also talk about how to do the machine setup, because if you don't set up a machine, then there's, when you save the G code, it has a line for an automatic tool changer. But most of us don't have an automatic tool changer, right? Unless your machine is more than $15,000 to $20,000, you're probably not rocking an automatic tool changer. Except for that one guy in the SethCNC group, he's got one on his 3018, which is pretty neat. Let's see if I can find another model here to bring in that. So we probably don't need to go over 3D at all. But yeah, once you generate the 2D stuff, it's pretty easy to make the toolpaths form in there. The thing is, when you make the toolpaths in Fusion 360, what I suggest doing is making small adjustments and then accepting them, letting the toolpath calculate before you move on, because it'll give you, like over here on this one, right? I already made the toolpaths for these. I've got a yellow warning saying that the retract height, it's going to automatically adjust my toolpath to lift the retract height to the safe height and lift the clearance height to the retract height, because I set those up wrong. I set them up wrong in this toolpath, and they need to be, basically your safe height needs to be here, and your retract height and your safe height, and then the clearance height, they need to be on certain levels. And if I didn't type them in right, it tells you a warning there, but it offers, it fixes it for you and proceeds out, right? There are other ones where you get a red exclamation point, and it fails to calculate, right? So if you were to go through all these steps in here for setting up the tool paths, assigning the tool, setting up all these the tool paths over here, and you change a bunch of these settings, and then you go through and press OK, and the next thing you know, it fails. How do you know which one you changed that caused it to fail? So I like to open it up, assign a tool, especially in the beginning, right? Open it up, assign your tool to it, and press OK. And let it calculate it out without an issue. Go through and tab by tab, change a few things as you you know, kind of learn what the different things mean here, and as you make a few changes, 1 or 2 or 3 changes, click OK and let it calculate out. In order to be able to find where the fault is, if you do end up changing something that was, you know, caused a conflict, and you got a fail to calculate because you changed the wrong setting and put the wrong values in, you know. Where are we at here for heights? What was the warning, right? Lifting retract to safe and lifting clearance to retract. So clearance needs to be as high as the, so I think the safe height is over here, right under safe distance 2.2. So that the retract needs to be at least the same as that, right? So if I do, why does it not like that? And so here, I hover over it and it tells me, warning, safe distance is not greater than the maximum step down. So it wants my safe distance to be more than the step down that's set for the ramping here, right? Think that'll fix it. That might be the wrong step down that it's referring to, though. All right, so you'd have to go through, and I forget where the others do. Let's see if we can find it real fast. Step over, diameter, step over, max roughing step down. There we go. I kind of wanted at 0.3 though, right? What it was a second ago. At that 2.35. Yeah. So we can go ahead and change the safe height to be greater than that, and then also change the rest of those as well, right? So we've got 2.2. We'll just change the retract height to be 2.2, and then the stock top just needs to be equal or greater than that. And then now that warning should go away. Oh, yeah. That model was generated like a month ago, and Fusion has updated since then. So we got a warning there. Anyway, yeah, you got to get up at 4:30, and it's already 9, right? So yeah, take care. Have a good night, man. I appreciate you stopping by as well, you know? I actually have about 10 minutes left too before I have to get out of here. So we'll wrap this up with this. And a few other things that I do have on the list over there to go over very soon is V-bit inlays. So maybe we'll save V-bit inlays for next week. And I'll rock through a V-bit inlay using Carveco. And we'll just do the computer setup on here for that. All right. Thank you guys for dropping in and hanging out with me tonight. Or if you're like me, it's 1:50, right, here in California. So, let me double check your questions real fast. Timber, yeah. So the sine wave, I did design a Fusion 360 using. Oh yeah, we can jump into that real fast. So yeah, you can see here that everything is all checked off now. I fixed that toolpath and the layers, right? So we can jump over here, back over the design tool, and like I said, I've got a few more minutes before I've got to go get more kids, so we can jump into that real fast. We'll hide the body and sketch one, yeah. So I just used an arc sequence here to design a sine wave. And then I did the bottom half of the table and the top part that I was going to cut away of the table. And then I rotated it. Rotated that sine wave about this circle to give me the might be hard to see with the way that this wood is sitting there, but you can see this center point there, which is the edge of this rectangle, that I rotated it about that center point to create the radius, right? The ripple effect. I was considering also doing another carve that sits on top of the table of like a water droplet or up above it falling into the water, which, you know, I haven't really ironed out exactly what I want to take this project to, but that's basically how I did it. I made this ripple effect using an arc, a repeating arc. And I want to say it was, let me jump in here real fast. And we can jump back to this part of the timeline. Ooh, now you're gonna make me figure out how I did it to begin with. Because there's a few ways to do this, but I want to say that within this sketch tool, we'll just create a new sketch to do this. Oh, I need to select my plane there. That's what the model's in the way. I didn't even notice that. And in order to do that ripple effect, we'll just hide the rest of these real fast. So you could use this fixed point spline. I believe that I used one of these. Yeah, I used a conic curve and then, oh no, yeah, fixed point spline. And I used a known location here, like zeros. Went through and made another point, and yeah, without pressing escape this time. And separate them out a certain distance, right? For the sine wave, they're going to be equidistant apart anyway, right? So once you set those distances, you could then take your wave here and adjust it up or down. I'm going to go ahead and press delete on these to get rid of that part. And I spaced out the points like that to give me the sine. So with them all perfectly spaced out, obviously, right? One here, one there, and going on, so on and so forth, just by grabbing one and lifting it the exact same distance as the other one over here. Now, it does something with the way that this is set up with the first and last node. You see here the arc amount is different than the arc amount here. And it has to do with the way that it wants to throw these in there. So I kind of left, if you look at the original, back at the original design here, I kind of left the first one here, and the last one I ended up was good. But for some reason, it messed up the first one, and I threw that one away, basically, if you look at it. The ripples to cross each other, that'd be like have two different, like duplicate the same thing and have two different cutaways. Yeah, that'd be pretty neat. Yeah. Here, we'll jump back over there real fast. Because even then, once the body's done now, right, we can actually just use the body itself to create, like, I could rotate, I could duplicate this and move it over, and then use a body to cut the other body. Here, we'll do that real fast. Let's see if I can kind of get what I think you're suggesting doing, right? I'll paste a new body right there. And we're going to move it Oh, it's the same size, so all I can really do is rotate it. We'll rotate it about this axis. I don't know. Yeah, let's go the full 180. And then we'll move point to point. That bottom corner to that corner. And now it's, yeah, it kind of forms like a weird checkerboard-ish pattern, right? So I could take this body and then now use this not combine. It is split body, yeah. Or is it combine? Now you guys are making me forget how to do this stuff. Yeah, combine, but we use the cut tool, and our second tool body is this other one, this other body. It's going to take a second to select it and do its math here. And because it's going to want to preview it too right now. Ooh, we'll see if that just forced Fusion to crash. All right, we're good. And we can use that tool to cut it with, right? Oh, it's not letting me do that. Keep tools, new component. Oh, I'd have to actually invert it and make it like the top of this in order to cut it away. That's the problem. Oh yeah, look. I gave it too much stuff to do there, didn't I? So you don't care about my homework, do you? It looks like I got a pop-up there that Fusion wants to crash, but then it didn't crash, so that's good. Yeah, so I think the better way to do it is to make a top portion and then use that to cut into it, right? And that would give us the effect that you were talking about, actually. Instead of rotating the bottom, if I made another top and cut it away, that would work. Oh, well, it's been, but I mean, even that looks really weird, doesn't it? The way that so I think we've got like some wall art here with this one, right? They're like, yeah, that did some weird stuff. Anyway. Huh. Yeah, let me, now I want to mess with that again. Let's try, oh, we want to move, right? M for move. And we're going to rotate it again. Select an axis. Oh, we'll do this whole side here. Why not? I'm going to put, yeah, let's put that point on that point, maybe. I don't think it's going to come out the way that you want it to, though, but it'll be interesting. We'll slide it up a little tiny bit. Yeah. And then now I can use this body to cut away the face of that body. It's going to be kind of trippy. But we do combine, select cut, and we're going to cut using the other body as the tool to cut it, right? See, it really, having a Fusion cut a body with a body kind of confuses it. All right. So you can kind of see what the end result's going to be. I think it'd be, because of the way that the waves overlap, it'd be kind of more difficult to do the two different ripples hitting each other. Because you have to choose the wave point to make it then diverge away, right? So it'd be a little bit more difficult in the way that I set it up. But let's see if you can see that. If I can get a good angle with the lighting and stuff. But that did some weird stuff to it, right? Where it kind of cut the concentric circles out of the high points of the other concentric circles. You know? So that's how you can kind of use a model as a negative to cut against. And I could have selected keep the tool, and it would have also kept that other body there, you know? So that's kind of how, when I design some stuff for some of the 3D printing stuff that I design, where I want a part to fit inside of another part. You design the first one first, and then you design the outer one, and you let's say I had to thread something with an Acme thread, and Fusion 360 has a threading tool, but it doesn't allow you to use the trapezoidal Acme threads that you have in lead screws. So there's no way to put a lead screw thread into a part in Fusion 360 using the threading function. But what you can do, and what I did, I went on Granger and I downloaded the model for the model that they have on there, the CAD model of the lead screw, and I threw that in there, and I used that using the same combine and cut away that, make a void for your other model to fit into, and that's how I made a nut block for one of the CNCs for the Z-axis, right? That's how I made a custom 3D printed nut block out of that. Anyway, I've overstayed my welcome here. Well, in my own garage. Maybe next time we'll be able to do more of a tour once I finish up some of those trays, because I know there's 2 sitting here, but there's actually 7 more right around the corner that need to be finished up too for orders as well. So thank you guys a lot for keeping me company here on this first one, and I've taken a few things away already that I know I need to that I want to change up, so that maybe we can have the comments popping up on the screen as well, or at least which one I'm referring to when I jump on here to chat with you guys about different things. All right. So again, thanks you guys for dropping in and saying hi to me and giving me some stuff to talk about. Next week, I plan on going over the V-Carve inlays in Carveco. And if you don't have Carveco, there's a link to the free trial at the bottom of this video. I'll have it there for that as well. But if you don't have it by the time we do that one, then you're not going to have a chance to download it in time for it. But it's a lot of the stuff that happens for that is conceptual to V-Carve as well. You could kind of replicate it in Fusion 360 too for the V-bit inlays with a little bit of math. You can get easel to do V-Carve inlays, but it takes some math and trickery of like offsetting the design after you run it through their own inlay generator in order to be able to get V-bits to work. And so I've already ran through the whole process of getting easel to do a V-bit inlay, and I ended up doing a whole 2-hour long video that was half of the video was teaching about how geometry and V-bit angles and how to do the math using different bits. So I might revisit that easel version, and we'll just stick with 1 or 2 angle bits. And maybe I could make an Excel calculator. That way you could automatically just type in your own bit angle, and it tells you what math to use for the offsets. But I ended up scrapping that video because it was just too long and math. Anyway, you guys have a great day. I'm going to cut this off. Thank you guys again. I appreciate it. 4,000 subscribers. That's just crazy, man. I appreciate you guys. All right. Take care.